right.
So Iris, if you're ready, thumbs up us. Cool.
So it's 6:32 p.m. and I call this regularly scheduled Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission meeting to order.
Please be advised, in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of the time, date, and place of this regularly scheduled meeting of the Jersey City Historic Preservation Commission has been sent to the Jersey Journal, the Jersey City Reporter, and the El Especialito on Friday, August 13th. Same notice has been sent to the city clerk for posting on the bulletin board outside of the clerk's office in City Hall and on the Jersey City website. I have proof of this notice here in evidence. Quickly share my screen. Let's see, sunshine announcement, but decides to pull over. There we go. All right.
And that will be marked B1.
Yes, please.
B1 is marked.
Thank you. We'll do a commissioner roll call. Commissioner Gucciardo,
Here.
Commissioner Lewis,
Here.
Commissioner Sakam,
Here.
Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Here.
Commissioner Tagliarini is absent. Commissioner Gordon,
Present.
Commissioner Gibson is absent. Commissioner Peppin is absent. Vice Chair Sandkamp.
Here.
And Chairman Blazak.
Here.
Okay, there are 7 members of the commission in attendance tonight. 5 affirmative votes are needed for a certificate of appropriateness. Moving on the agenda, we have the approval of the minutes from July 19th, 2021. Anyone have any questions or changes or anything on the minutes? Okay,
I'll make a
seeing none.
motion.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sakam,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Gucciardo,
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Sandkamp,
Aye.
and Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes from July 19th are approved. All copies of correspondence, application materials, things like that are all linked within the individual case numbers on the agenda for the public to review. Number 6, announcements. So I do have one very brief announcement. You'll see Sarah on your screen here. Sarah, if you could wave. Just wanted to introduce Sarah to the commission. We hired her full-time as a preservation specialist. We are very, very happy to have her. So you'll start to see Sarah at commission meetings, and she's also, you know, around if anyone needs help with anything as well.
Happy to be here.
Welcome.
Welcome
Sarah.
aboard.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Sarah.
That covers all of staff's announcements. So we'll move to open public comment. If there are any members of the public in attendance tonight who would like to speak regarding matters of historic preservation that are not on tonight's agenda, please use the raise hand function and we'll be able to allow you to address the commission. Raise hand function's at the bottom of your screen. If you're calling in on your phone, you can press *9. Staff sees no hands raised at this time and would recommend a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion, Sandkamp.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we have no old business on tonight's agenda, so that brings us into new business.
All right, we have case 9A. This is case number H21-246. Lucio Santos, architect, on behalf of Ming Yao Chang, owner. This is 123 Grand Street, Apartment 8, Block 14, 305, Lot 1, C0008. This is in the Paulus Hook Historic District for a certificate of appropriateness for the construction of a roof deck and replacement of existing bulkhead at 123 Grand Street, an altered contributing Italianate row house constructed circa 1860, which along with 121 Grand Street has been combined into one multifamily building.
Lucio, you should be able to unmute yourself. We'll just swear you in and qualify you before you can start presenting.
Okay. Can you please raise your right hand?
Sure.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you.
Can you just state and spell your name for the record, please?
Sure. My name is Lucio Santos, Lucio. Last name is Santos.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you've testified in front of the commission before.
No, this is the first time.
Okay, can you just briefly state your qualifications and just confirm you're a licensed architect?
Sure. I'm licensed as an architect here in New Jersey and New York. I've been practicing for over 15 years.
Staff recommends that Mr. Santos's qualifications be accepted as an expert in the field of architecture.
Motion for the same.
Second.
Thank you. All right, so you should be able to share your screen and present the application. Before you do that, is there anyone else you wanted me to promote besides you that will be presenting tonight?
I believe the owner, David.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, David. We just have to swear you in quickly.
Sure.
Okay, can you also raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay,
And could you
thank
just
All
state,
set.
sorry, could you just state and spell your name for the record, please?
Sure, it's Ming Yao, last name Chuang. Mingyao.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
You can start whenever you're ready.
Okay, so the address, as you can see here, is 123 Grand Street, apartment 8, which is the very top here at this corner building. And what David would like to do is essentially add a new stair, replace the existing stair that's in his apartment with something a little smaller in terms of footprint, and add a new roof deck at the top. And let me jump ahead. So this is the existing apartment plan. So there's sort of like this half of a diamond shaped or L-shaped stair that doesn't really meet the existing code in terms of the tread depths and heights. So the plan is to demolish this stair, keeping the existing walls around, open up the new roof here, remove the existing bulkhead, and replace it with a spiral staircase and a squared off bulkhead. And this, as you can see, this would be the spiral staircase. We've eliminated all of the existing stair support walls. And then you would have a squared bulkhead with a sloping roof. And this would be the new roof deck. And the idea is that you would have a pair of sliding doors here. You would come out, and then you have a built-in bench seating along the two sides of the deck. So this is a view of the existing roof and roof bulkhead. So the idea is to completely eliminate the existing bulkhead and replace it with a squared off bulkhead and new roof deck. So the idea is to clad everything in cedar. So this would be a clear stained finished cedar bulkhead siding, as well as the vertical guardrail siding for the deck. And one of the things that we're being very mindful is the views from the street. So we're being very careful to make sure that we're not going over the 10-foot maximum height. We're also maintaining a 1 foot 1 inch horizontal to 1 foot vertical angle, so that we're within that plane. And so as you can see here with the street view diagrams, when you're across the street on Warren Street, as well as Grand Street, there is no view of the bulkhead, either currently or proposed. So as you can see here, this is the 1938 tax assessor's photo and the existing conditions. And the idea is this spiral staircase. So we had to essentially keep the minimum clear ceiling height above the tread, basically the closest tread to the ceiling height here, as well as the landing. And that's what's driving the height of this new bulkhead, as well as the slope of this portion of the roof. And what we're doing is we're proposing to do a steel column, essentially like a lobby column that connects into new framing that's going to be inserted into the existing roof. And then we're going to post up and frame the entire new roof deck. And some views of the stair. Typical wall buildup. So, we're being very mindful to provide the proper insulation values for the exterior walls as well as for the roof. So the idea is that we're going to have typical rain screen siding on all 4 sides of the bulkhead. 2 sides, we're going to pop those out a little bit more than the other 2, just to allow for LED lighting to be inserted at the base. And this is going to be LED lighting that is only projecting downward and not upward. And this I can show you with the assumption here in this detail. So the idea is we have this continuous LED strip that sort of goes along the base of the guardrail. And it provides a nice sort of ambient lighting to the deck. And we are proposing a downlight here on the side of the bulkhead. And again, this is going to be downward facing only. It's not going to be projecting light upward. And we are inserting a glass sliding door. And that was really just to sort of maintain as much free space on the decks to avoid having the door swing outward. And yeah, so this is just showing some example of the framing. So the idea is that we're just going to have some LVL beams inserted at the 2 sides of the new bulkhead, with some new ceiling joists and beams inserted around the perimeter of the bulkhead. And the idea is that we have essentially 1, 2, 3, 4 points that are being, or should I say 4 posts that are elevated upward to support the deck. And we just wanted to make sure that the deck was elevated enough to allow for drainage to go through underneath on the actual roof of the building. And we just wanted to also make sure that these posts were suitable to provide any liquid flashing. Just make sure that you always have an issue with wood posts. They degrade over time and then water gets in. So just want to make sure that those posts were steel, or should I say galvanized steel, and that wouldn't provide any problems with potential leaks in the future. And that's pretty much it, if you have any questions.
Do any commissioners have any questions?
So I know you, Lucio, thank you for your presentation. I know you mentioned that it, that it was going to be clad in cedar, but I don't know if I caught if you had a paint color proposed, or as well as maybe I missed it, but maybe you can just talk about the railings, what the material of the railings and what their color and finish is going to be as well.
Yes, so we're proposing just a clear stain. So I think we want to just keep the nice, beautiful texture of the cedar wood, but just it's going to be a little bit warmer, just as a clear stain typically enhances that sort of nice golden yellowness of the cedar board. So it would just be clear stain finish applied. And let me jump to a section here. So the guardrails would be also finished with the same cedar board cladding as the bulkhead. And this would also have a clear stain finish applied. And the idea is that you have your posts and you have some 2x4 pressure treated 2x4 framing to support the horizontal cladding of the guardrails. And the same will be applied for the built-in bench. So everything that is above the decking would be cedar board, and the actual decking itself would be pressure treated.
Hi, Lucy. How you doing?
Good. How are you, Austin?
Good. Quick question for you. The L2 light fixture,
Yes.
and then when you described it, you described it as a down only. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
I was just looking at the spec. It looks like it's an up and down.
Correct. And this light fixture does have adjustable heads. And speaking with the light, the rep in Delta, they did say that you can face them downward only.
Okay. So I think we just need some note or something on the drawings that indicates that. Otherwise,
Okay.
There's no way to document that. That's it for me.
Anyone else have any questions?
Should we move to public comment then?
Yes.
Right.
Lucio, does that conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does.
Okay, great. If there are any members of the public who are in attendance tonight who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of your screen, or if you're on the phone, you can press *9 to address the commission regarding this application. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion, Stankamp. Second, Stephen.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll move into staff comments. Just gonna take you off the screen share here. And I'll put up the staff report. So again, move as we usually do, moving right down to staff recommendations and comments. This is a pretty standard roof deck application. It's consistent with Secretary of the Interior standards. The roof deck and bulkhead do not appear to be visible from the public right of way. Of course, there is that small corner towards the L-shaped addition of the building where it does get kind of close to where visibility could be, but I believe that it's set back far enough that I don't think we're going to have that issue.
Maggie, is the existing bulkhead or anything up there visible currently?
No.
Okay.
So again, pretty standard addition in historic districts. This follows general pattern of development for them. So we do not think that there's going to be an adverse effect on the character or the integrity of the Paulus Hook Historic District with this installation. So we do recommend the approval of the certificate of appropriateness with following conditions, which are more or less our standard roof deck conditions. We have no portion of the roof deck or bulkhead should be visible from the public right of way. And we have any roof deck lighting shall be downcast and minimal in nature. We can, if the commission's comfortable with it, we can amend that to include that when filing for construction documents, the change regarding the light fixture that both heads should be tilted downward should be reflected on those plans. I think that'd be an appropriate place to incorporate that. And then from there on, we have our standard conditions. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Are we good with the addition / placement of the change regarding the light fixture?
I think so.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, as well.
All right.
As well.
So then, again, the recommendation is to approve the certificate of appropriateness with the conditions listed in the staff report and as read into the record tonight.
I'll move to issue a certificate of appropriateness with the conditions as set forward by staff.
Second.
Okay. I have Gordon and I have Lewis. Prior to a vote, Lucio and David, do you guys accept the conditions?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Great. All right, so we'll move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Amatuzzo,
Yes.
Commissioner Gucciardo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Commissioner Gordon,
Aye.
Commissioner Sakong,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Sankamp,
Aye.
and Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
Okay, there are 7 votes in favor, 0 against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness is granted.
Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Next is 9B. This is case H21-401. Rebecca Pinchback, owner, is the applicant for 244 4th Street, block 11201, lot 35 in the Harsimus Cove Historic District. This is a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of 2/2 windows on the front facade of 244 4th Street, an altered contributing Greek Revival row house building constructed circa 1870.
Rebecca, you should be able to unmute yourself and turn on your camera.
Okay, I unmuted. Give me 1 second. Something is going on with my video. Apologies.
No problem.
Okay, I'm not sure if do you need my video for us to continue?
Liz, we don't need her video to swear her in, correct?
I can grab my husband.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just saying that it's saying select another video camera. I'm not even sure what that means.
Okay.
It's okay. We just need a verbal affirmation.
Okay.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, so just raise your right hand. It's fine, you're not in video. Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, and could
Thank
you
you.
just state and spell your name for the record, please?
Sure, it's Rebecca Pinchback, REBECCA. Pinchback is PINCHBACK.
All right, and you can begin whenever you would like to.
Perfect. So I'm here on pretty much behalf of my architect who wasn't able to make it, Jensen Vassal, and we are applying for a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of 2/2 windows, which were not on the original plan. So we originally had approved 1/1. Our direct neighbor, so we're at 244 4th Street, our direct neighbor at 244.5 has the 2/2 divided lights. So we wanted to ask permission for us to do the same.
Do you have the plans readily available?
Yep, so I could share, let me attempt to share
You
my
should be
screen.
able to. You should
Yep.
be able to.
Okay. Okay, so can you guys see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So here are the amended plans. And as you can see, it's just adding the 2/2 divided lights to the exterior of the building. Let me know if you guys need me to zoom in at all.
Quick question, was this already approved for 1/1?
Yes. Yeah, so we're like 2 months away from completing the project, so we're pretty well underway. But we have not really touched anything on the exterior of the front of the building, which is why we're now coming for this approval.
Understood, and it was part of a certificate of appropriateness or a certificate of no effect?
I believe the original.
Yes.
Was this
I believe
certificate of no effect?
No effect, yes.
I see. And do you have, in addition to the images you have on the screen now, what type of window it is or any additional drawings of the?
Yep, I do. So it's the Marvin Elevate line. Let me see if I could pull it up for you here. I don't have pictures, actually. It's just the specifications, but it's the exact historic. It's the wood line from Marvin.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you scroll down a little bit, there's
there we go.
Yeah.
And I know this was included in the materials that was submitted to the commissioners prior to the hearing, but would you be able to share the 1938 tax photograph?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Can you see that okay?
Not yet.
Nope, not yet.
Oh, okay, hold on.
Let me see the
I could see it on my screen. Hold on.
data portal thing.
You might have to unshare and reshare.
Okay.
If you only share a window rather than the entire screen,
Oh,
sometimes
okay.
if you go back and forth between applications, it does not work.
Okay, we can see it now. Thank you.
Perfect, no problem.
So this, the tax photo shows 1/1s and 1/1s in the adjacent buildings, but I know there are buildings in that row that have 2/2 windows.
Yeah.
1870 is probably pretty early for 1/1 windows originally on the building. Maybe that's about as early as you can see 1/1 windows on buildings. It's about 1870, right after the Civil War. So it could have been that those windows were all replacements.
Okay.
And the tax photograph in the building would have been almost 70 years old already at that point.
Mhm.
Maggie, the other windows that are 2/2s in that row, were they approved by HPC? Do you know that?
So there are, so yes. In some of the other tax photographs for other windows on this row, they show 2/2. Those specific buildings have not had replacement windows yet, but if they came in, they would be approved for a 2/2 because that's what's shown on the tax card. And then directly adjacent to this building at 244.5 4th Street, so like quite literally right next door, the commission approved those for 2/2 windows as part of a larger project in 2019.
Okay.
And those, you said the 2/2s are in the tax photographs on buildings that are part of this row, the same building date. Okay, so I have no problem with this being 2/2. I think that's very reasonable. So I think
Do any other commissioners have any questions?
No.
I think 2/2 is actually probably more appropriate than the 1/1. The only thing I would say is that I was just curious about the door, if has any drawings for that yet, or that's planning on coming back to us, I guess.
Yeah, we've already submitted the door to Maggie and it's exactly as the tax photograph.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's already been approved.
All right, so the door hasn't changed since the certificate of no effect
Correct.
approval. And just a quick question for staff, Maggie. The Marvin Elevate series, that's what was in the original certificate of no effect application as well?
So the original certificate of no effect had the wood ultimate double hungs, which I think that is what is on the spec sheet has 2 different sets of windows, and I'm pulling it up right now just to make sure my brain does not. Yeah, so the Elevate are actually what's spec'd on the sheet for the rear of the property because the Elevate are the ones that are clad. If you can throw it up quickly just to show. Yeah, here we go. So as it's sharing. All right, so this is the prop.
Oh yeah,
you
sorry.
can see front. It's okay. There's a million different names for these things. Front basement, front first floor, front second floor, front third floor, all the ultimate wood double hungs. And then so front basement just so you have a primed pine exterior, a primed painted exterior. So yeah, these are all entirely wood windows, and these are what were approved under the original certificate of no effect, just they're now 2/2.
Understood. And I'm asking because the Marvin has a fiberglass exterior trim, I believe. So I just, can we just get testimony that, just to clarify, the front window, the front facing windows in this proposed application is going to be the ultimate, I'm sorry, what was it? The wood ultimate?
The wood ultimate double hung.
Not the
That
Marvin.
is correct. I misspoke. The line that I had originally said was for the back of it, but yes, the front, all of the front facing windows will be the wood, and then we did the clad on the back of the house.
Okay, that helps. That's very helpful. Thank you very much.
Apologies.
Oh, no problem. It helps.
One little small detail that I had a question about was the was it 144? Is that 144 and a half?
244 and a
244
half.
and a half.
244 and a half. Is the parlor level window, are the sashes half and half on that building? Because you're showing it, you know, both sashes the same height.
That is
That's not
correct.
always, so they're okay.
Yep.
Because I think
So our proposal is to match what they have, which is
Right.
two,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. Just
Hold
want
on, I just, so here you can see
Yeah.
244 and a half, which is the building on the left, has since put up their cornice. So they're completed. They had to add in the stars for some structural elements, but they'll be matching 244 and a half.
Perfect.
And color and where the window is set in the opening in terms of how close to the front facade, that's all already been approved, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
based on the historic documentation and site evidence.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, Rebecca, does that conclude your testimony?
That does. I do want to bring up, so the color in our
Oh,
application
good.
right now is different than what was originally approved though. So we are asking for approval to use Sherwin-Williams tricorn, which is like a very soft black. And it is represented on the block in over, I think it's either 7 or 8 different properties on that row. So
Thank you
just
for that.
full transparency. Yep.
That's good.
That's just for the windows, correct?
Correct.
Or-
Windows and front door.
Yes. Okay.
Yep.
Just wanted, the cornice is not going to be black. We don't have to worry about that. Okay. So if that concludes your testimony, there's no additional questions. If there's any members of the public who are in attendance who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion, Sandcamp.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we covered a lot of staff comment during commissioner comments, but I am going to just run through the staff report quickly. Okay. So as usual, jumping straight to staff recommendations and comments. As we stated previously, we've approved 2/2 windows on row houses within this row and on this block, notably directly adjacent to this property and directly across the street. It's considered appropriate for this style of building and this time period, and staff does not believe it's going to cause an adverse effect on the character or the integrity of the historic district and row. So we recommend the approval of a certificate of appropriateness with the following conditions. All of the conditions approved under H19517 shall remain in effect. That is the certificate of no effect that this project was originally approved under. That certificate of no effect included all of the interior renovations, the front facade restoration, and some changes on the rear facade of the building that are not visible from the public right of way. And then everything from there is just our standard conditions. Oh, and standard conditions for windows, I'm sorry. So, you know, just that everything's supposed to be verified in field. You're not supposed to damage the historic masonry surround, and that, you know, reminder that lead paint might be a thing. Okay. Does anyone have any questions for staff? Okay, so So again, the recommendation is to approve the certificate of appropriateness with the conditions as read into the record.
Make a motion to approve with the conditions as read by staff.
Second.
Okay, Lewis. Commissioner Gordon,
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuza,
Aye.
Commissioner Sakong,
Aye.
Commissioner Gucciardo,
Aye.
Commissioner Lewis,
Aye.
Vice Chairman Nikat.
Aye.
There we go. And Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
Okay, there are 7 votes in favor, none against, no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness is granted.
Thank you.
Okay.
All
And
right,
we are on to our last application of the evening.
rolling along here. We have 9C. This is case H21-198. Tacombe Holdings tenant. This is 130 Bay Street, Suite R01, Block 11504, Lot 2, in the Powerhouse Arts District redevelopment plan. This is a locally designated landmark. And this is for a certificate of appropriateness for the installation of painted wall signage at a tenant space on the north side of the building at 130 Street, 130
Bay
must be
Street.
130 Bay Street, aka the AE&P Warehouse Auxiliary Building and Bakery Complex, an altered early 20th century commercial building complex with classical elements constructed 1914 to 1915.
Thanks, Brian. Nick, if you could just take down your screen for a second so we can swear you in. Yeah, just kind of pop off the screen share so we can see everyone's screen. There we go. All right. And then Nick, is I see Joseph in the attendees. Is he also presenting on this application?
Joseph Iazetta is the Chief Development Officer for Tacombe.
Okay,
And
well,
he's here if you have any questions as far as the history or branding. He'd be happy to give you any input on the history of Tacombe. I'll be presenting for the application.
Okay, that sounds good. I just promoted him, and we'll swear him in if we need testimony from him.
I'm going to take a quick break and shut this fan over my head because it's very annoying to me, and I'm sure to the members as well.
Okay, that's fine.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Nick, if you could just raise your right hand to be sworn, please.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. And if you could,
do you want to just swear Joseph in, or?
Yeah, we may as well.
Okay. Can you please raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Great. Okay. Could you both, just starting with Nick, state your name for the record and spell it, please?
Yes, my name is Nick Cifaretto, C-I-F as in Frank, A-R-E-T-T-O.
My name is Joe or Joseph Iazetta, A-O-S-E-P-H, I-A-Z-Z-E-T-T-A.
Thank you. Okay. So you should be, Nick, you should be able to share your screen.
Excellent. Yes. Can you see my screen, Maggie?
No.
All right, we'll try this again. How about now?
Yes, we can see it.
Excellent. So when you're ready, I'm happy to give you a little bit of background about myself and then give you the presentation that we are requesting.
Go right ahead.
My name is, again, Nick Cifaretto. I'm Senior Project Manager representing Tricarico Architecture and Design. I've been with them for 15 years. I've been in the architectural design and construction field for about 35 plus. We'll leave it at that. Also have sat on many boards throughout the state, as well as presented to many boards throughout the state. With that, if you'd like, I would just go into our presentation and the request for Tacombe.
Sure.
Okay. On the left side of the screen, you will see the proposed and approved building signage and color. This is the tenant signage that was previously approved on the base building application for the restoration of the building. On the right side, we are showing what we are asking for and proposing for our tenant space. And basically, Tacombe came in, they're sensitive to the building, to the historic nature of it, but they did want to bring a little brand identity to their storefront. So with the addition of the red colored stripe and 2 red painted signs on the building, they wanted to bring a little liveliness, a little street presence, as well as a small amount of string lights over their tenant space. Those string lights are removable. They would be basically plugged into an exterior grade receptacle mounted high underneath the existing approved canopy. As for the red stripe, we did originally have that stopped at the tenant space. The landlord actually requested that we bring it to the end of the building at this point. I did notice that there were some questions about painting over the area that was the electrical room for JCP&L. I know that would be something that we'll have to provide you with approval from them. That's not a problem. Again, the landlord were the ones that requested that we brought that all the way across just to give it, so it just didn't terminate at the stairs here. But basically that's it. It's the red stripe, the 2 red signs, and in addition to the approved Tacombe signage tenant sign up above, we also added in an example of the hour sign and a tenant space number sign that's consistent with the rest of the building. And that's basically what we're asking for.
Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions?
No questions at this time for me.
Just a question on your string lights. Are they colored lights or is this white light?
They're typically white light, and that's what we're proposing here. Traditional string lights that you'll see at outdoor eateries, especially lately.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, hearing none. Nick, does that conclude your testimony?
It does.
All right, so we will move into public comment. If there are any members of the public who would like to speak regarding this application, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the screen. If you're on the phone, you can press *9. Okay, staff sees no hands raised and recommends a motion to open and close public comment.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll move into staff comments for this. So first and foremost, for staff comment, clearly that executive order about signage has been lifted. We're perfectly fine reviewing this. It is also a storefront alteration, so we could have reviewed it anyway, but we are good to review signage again. So let me throw up the staff report quickly. So I'm sure you, well, actually not sure. I would assume everyone remembers reviewing the larger project for this building, which we saw in the fall of 2019 and again in the winter of 2020. Just gonna scroll down to the project proposal. So we approved the rehab of these buildings as well as the subsequent amendment in the winter of 2020. I should say January of 2020. Winter of 2020 implies last very recently. And that amendment was for the vault room that the paint is covering here. Part of that approval was a reminder on the bottom of the certificate that any new tenants needed to come in for any additional signage or storefront alterations. So we are very happy that they are here doing that. So we're gonna scroll down to staff recommendations and comments. So in terms of signage, this proposal is consistent with Secretary of the Interior standards. The proposed signage is relatively minimal. It's not particularly large. And it's appropriate when considering the industrial nature of the property. Most importantly, this is appropriate because the building is already painted. The proposed finish for the building when we approved this application was paint. That is not changing. So if the building was not already painted, we'd be in a slightly different scenario here, right? We don't really paint masonry unless it's already painted, but because it is painted, it is perfectly appropriate for them to add additional paint on top of that. So while it's not a condition necessarily, we do strongly recommend that the applicant seek and gain PSE&G approval for the installation of those painted bands across their vault room. And we would strongly recommend that they do this prior to installation. The reason that amendment came back to us in January of 2020 is because PSE&G was being particularly picky about that vault room. So I do not want there to be any issues down the line. And I think it's better to just attack that from the get-go.
Understood.
So so staff recommends that the commission approve a certificate of appropriateness with our standard signage conditions. We haven't done a signage application for a bit, so I'll just remind everyone of what they are, which is that the approval does not include any additional window signage. This does not include any additional exterior signage or signage lighting. The signage needs to comply with all zoning regulations and ordinances. Based on my very cursory unofficial review, it appears to do so, but we like to have that in there just in case. And then of course, if any of the signage changes, it will need to come back to the HPC, and that we only approve this, and that this does not cover any of their interior fit out work, which we are currently working on. Does the commission have any questions for staff?
Just one. Those of us who were not part of that original vote on this, on the original application, there's no issue with voting on this, is there? Okay.
Nope, this is an entirely new application.
Just wanted to check. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Any other questions from commissioners?
The only question I have is the area to the right, and maybe just refresh my memory, but where that signage or that like red stripe kind of goes across to the right, that's just the end of the building there?
Right here, yes.
Okay.
See my my cursor?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the edge of our building. This is the PSE&G area, and I believe this is I think it's a stair door coming from another area in the building.
Is there any, this might be asking a little far in advance, but is there any plan to put outdoor seating in that area?
There is, there's a couple seats up on the upper level, and there was a couple seats that we're proposing down here. Literally 2 tables down here and 2 tabletops, I believe, up top. We have that on the plan in the application as well for the permit.
Okay. Yeah, the only reason I bring it up, my only reservation about this in general is that the painted area is kind of leaving the area that is kind of like associated with the storefront. And I don't know, we don't have a lot of buildings like this in the historic district. I don't know that it's really setting a precedent per se, but I think in general, it's good practice to keep the painted areas kind of to the areas of the building that are associated with the storefront. And this might be pushing it just a little bit, but there's also kind of a unique situation here in that there is this PSCG access and it's the edge of the building. So I don't know, like if this were like going around the corner of the building to try to grab people's attention because it's, it might be a different story. So I'm also just kind of talking out loud and trying to make sure that I'm comfortable with this as well. But That was, I think and I'm familiar with some of the locations in the city. And the kind of painted wall signs that they do there, I think is very interesting. That was my only reservation. I don't know if anyone else has any reservations with this as well. And I don't know if it might be hard to show this. I don't know if you have any, even if you were to look on Street View, but I know the loading docks are getting changed, but I don't know if you have any photos of this area that you could show us, or Maggie, if you could
I
show
ac-
us one.
I actually do.
Oh,
Be happy to
great.
bring that up for you.
I had Street View up just in case, but I'm sure the
I was-
photos Nick has are more up to date than Street View is.
Yes, this was actually the one we took in, it was probably over the winter, probably January, February, believe it or not. It was happened to be a nice day. This area here is the
Oh, I
loading
don't
dock.
think we can see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You
Let
might
me-
need to,
Yeah,
you might need to unshare and then reshare if you switched applications that you're viewing the photos in.
all right, let's see if I can do this. I'm much better with Teams. So I do apologize. Okay, new share. How about now?
Yep.
Okay, we can see now.
Okay, so this is our elevation. Our storefront is down in this area. Let's see if I got a better view of that. This is a straight on shot. I believe our door is here and the stairs go down over here. This is the awning that's getting replaced. And this is also another upper area. I believe we're right in this bay right here for our storefront. And to give you again an overall, this is the elevation. This loading dock is being torn down and replaced in its existing location.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, and I guess maybe that I was also kind of maybe posing a question to the other commissioners and to see how people felt about that. We want to look at this as its own application, but we should keep in mind that there may be other applications for other tenants in this building, and this could set a bit of a precedent. So we should think about that as well. And if we do approve this, that maybe we should even try to tailor maybe one extra condition that kind of talks about the space and the loading dock and the PSCG access, that kind of thing, that's going to be kind of a dead zone or something like that. But I'm just thinking ahead as well to this, but looking at this building as a whole as well, in addition to this application.
I can appreciate what you're saying, Brian. Typically I'm looking at the whole building and wanting to make sure if it's going to be painted, that it's painted in a way that's consistent with the historic architecture. So a stripe around the bottom isn't something that I would normally want to approve, especially if it's exceeding the storefront area, as you pointed out. But it is paint. It's not a permanent change. I don't particularly like it, but I want to stay within historic guidelines in terms of my approval or not approval. So, but I don't like the idea of what it does to the historic structure.
Maybe
I'll put out there that I don't particularly mind what it does to the historic structure. I think not all historic buildings, not all styles of historic architecture receive kind of big abstract gestures like this in the same way. And I think that, if this were, an Italianate, Renaissance style, architecture, I think I might feel differently. But given the industrial, simple, kind of panel and frame language that defines this building, I think this is the kind of building that can handle this kind of intervention, especially that, as you say, it's just paint. I think this is kind of building that can handle that pretty well. So, Mr. Chairman, I also appreciate what you're saying. I'll just say for the record, I don't, in this case, with this particular style of architecture and with the application of it being, paint, I don't share that reservation in this case.
What Commissioner Sakong said.
I'm kind of in agreement with, I'm on both sides of the fence. I don't necessarily like it, but it is just paint. I do like the fact that it takes away from the PSE&G doors and kind of makes them want to become secondary looking in appearance, because they're painted over to kind of camouflage them out. So I kind of have mixed emotions about both seeing it and not seeing it. But as we all know, it's just paint and it can be changed in a moment's notice. So I really don't have an issue with it, for the present.
Maggie, is there a way that we could, let's just say, we wish them great success and hope they're there for a long time, but let's say that at a certain point they do move to a different location. Is there a condition that we could add that would ask that, and that after the business moves or closes or whatever, that the owner would be responsible for painting over it and removing the paint, in case of,
Yeah, we could definitely, I think we would have to phrase it as either like something as like the signage that we approved tonight is only for this particular building and this particular building, this particular tenant and this particular applicant, and that any alterations, any new tenants would need to remove this signage and reapply for their own. I don't necessarily know how successful we would be in having enforcing a condition that a previous tenant remove their signage.
Okay.
That's zoning typically makes people do that anyway. It's in our ordinance that people have to remove signage. But we would probably have better success with requiring a new tenant reapply for new signage.
But just so I'm clear, and maybe I'm conflating these things, but Mr. Chairman, your concern isn't necessarily about a future tenant taking on this brand identity so much as it is about setting a precedent for other buildings in which this kind of graphic identity will get applied in an inappropriate way, and point to this application and say, but you did it here. Is that?
Yes, or say, well, we have this stripe here already, let's double the size or paint it.
Right. So I wouldn't object. In fact, I would support a condition that notes the unique appropriateness of this solution to this building in this location for, with these particular conditions like the PSE&G vault, et cetera, and the landing and the stairs. In other words, to kind of guard against this being used as a precedent for other more difficult applications. I don't necessarily know what the point would be to make the owner paint over it, once this particular tenant leaves. If we're okay with it now, I assume that we'd be okay with it, whomever owns that space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. And whoever would come in might want their own identity anyway. And let's hope that's not a problem for the business anyway, and that they're there for a long time. So
Yeah, and I would just add that part of our lease, we actually required if we were to leave the space that we would want full de-identification. We would be required to paint and bring it back to its natural. It's something that we don't want an incoming tenant to have any use of any of our design intent.
Perfect.
Very helpful. Thank you.
You know, in legal parlance, I think what we're talking about would be considered sort of a narrow holding based on the facts of the particular case that we're facing here. And, you know, as you said, the unique circumstances. You know, to me, what this helps do is to revitalize what's been a building that's neglected for quite some time. And I'm also mindful that this is the arts district, and this sort of quirky paint job seems to honor that.
I think that's a good point.
I would also remind my fellow commissioners of, I think it's public storage building. Is that the name of it, Maggie? In the same area, they have a very bright color scheme that we allowed to paint parts of the building with their proprietary business colors.
It's actually very similar colors.
Yeah.
Do they sell tacos?
So, in the same district. So I think it's something that there is a little precedent for. My personal opinion is that it's paint, so it's completely very simple to return it back to its original condition. So I have no issue with it.
Brian, just to briefly address your concern of what you mentioned as a concern of someone coming in and making the band bigger. The band is approved at the size that is on these drawings. If someone were to come in and increase it by an inch, that is a zoning violation. So I don't necessarily think that we have to be concerned about that. I did write what I think is I did write out what we could add as a condition to cover kind of what we're talking about. If you're still interested in adding a condition to cover this, or if you feel satisfied by the test, yay, nay, should I read?
I think you should read it.
Okay. The approval issued under H21-198, which is appropriate considering the industrial nature of the building and the existing exterior finish of the building, is only applicable to the existing tenant and applicant. Any new applicant/tenant signage would require review and approval under a new application.
Okay. I think that's pretty good, and I do think that's worth including in the certificate.
Okay. All right. Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
Did we already do public comment for this, or at least ask for it?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah, we were in staff comment. Okay, so to summarize staff comment, we're recommending approval of the certificate of appropriateness with the conditions listed on tonight's staff report and as read into the record by staff.
So motion to approve and issue certificate of appropriateness with the conditions set forth by staff.
Second.
Okay, I have Commissioner Sakan, Commissioner Gordon. Nick and Joseph, do you accept those conditions?
I believe, yes.
Yes, okay, great. All right, move to a roll call vote. Commissioner Lewis.
Aye.
Commissioner Gucciardo.
Sorry, aye.
It's okay. Commissioner Gordon.
Aye.
Commissioner Amatuzzo.
Aye.
Commissioner Sakong.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Sandkamp.
Aye.
And Chairman Blazak.
Aye.
Okay, there are 7 votes in favor, none against, and no abstentions. The certificate of appropriateness with the conditions read into the record is granted.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys. All right, just change these guys back.
Maggie, I seem to, I don't have the agenda up now. Do you mind reading through?
I do not.
Sorry.
All right, next up on the agenda are tabled cases. We only have one tabled case and we'll have this tabled case for quite a bit of time, I believe. We have no updates on that. Next up is the introduction and discussion of resolutions as needed. We have no resolutions to discuss or introduce. Next, following that is memorialization of resolutions, no resolutions to memorialize. Executive session as needed. I do not believe we need an executive session, which just leads us to adjournment.
Maybe the one thing I don't know. I asked you about that earlier, but just I know we had talked in the past about return to in-person meetings, and just that we still don't know anything. But it is a situation that could change at any time, probably. So
yeah,
just
we have no update as staff as to when we're going back to in-person. I will obviously alert everyone as quickly as I know. Originally they had talked about September, but we have not received an update on that. So I am proceeding that we will continue to be meeting virtually for the time being. But again, if as soon as I know, I will make sure all of you know.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. So it is 7:38 and meeting has ended. Thank you.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Thanks,
All
Maggie.
right.
Maggie,
you, everyone.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
The string lights were on that